Coffee house, coffee shop or cafe, regardless of what you call it, its primary purpose is to serve a good cup of joe. And if it can be done in a cool and cozy place, even better. These shops range from locally owned to large multinationals. And from a cultural perspective, they've always served as a place for people to come together.
When we think of coffee houses today, usually the first thing to pop into our heads is a place with big comfy chairs to lounge in while we sip an espresso or latte in the company of our friends. The smell of freshly brewed coffee hangs in the air, and in the background, the sound of scorching steam frothing milk for that perfect cappuccino. Well, except for the frother, not too much of a difference from the first coffee houses back in 15th century Turkey. The first known public place to serve coffee was in Istanbul. It was called Kivahan. It served a strong, black, and unfiltered brew. People met up then, as they do now, for a cup of coffee and some stimulating conversation. Later, in 1647, the first European coffee house was established in Venice. 3 years later, it caught on in England, and then, in 1683, Vienna got with the program. These cafes and coffee houses were artistic and intellectual centers, often visited by artists, writers, and socialites. Today, cafes are still places you go for conversation, but they've also evolved into something bigger. Some are art galleries, or bookstores. While others are venues for poetry slams and even telecommuting. But for many, it's still all about the coffee.
Is this your first cup of coffee of the day?
Yes, it is.
It is. How many do you usually get?
I'm a little afraid to admit it, but around at least 3, I think.
3 a day? That's not bad. Most people have like 10 or 20. Can you go without a day without a cup of coffee?
No.
No? Why?
No. I mean, even if I did, and I feel like something was wrong, something was thinking, what happened today? The new thing here, I've been here a month, so now I'm also into Turkish coffee. The rich Turkish coffee that they boil in the office, like, what is that? You know, can you make me a cup of that? And it's like, oh, it's really strong to begin with, and but it's really good. When I was in Greece, I had this kind of espresso machine, and I was like, okay, I have to have this when I get back home. I can't just live. Life is too short for not drinking really good coffee.
Our love affair with coffee and that special attachment we have to our favorite coffee house can be traced back as far as the Ottomans. Joining me now in the studio is coffee expert Asli Aman to talk more about coffee. Hello and thank you for joining us.
Hello, thank you.
You're part of a new wave of coffee experts. Tell us what you do. What does that mean?
Yes, actually I'm part of from a very old culture, I can say, but today we are living the new trends. As you know, actually I was grown also like you with the Turkish coffee culture and also instant coffee culture. But especially for the last 10 years, some things have changed in the world and also in Turkey as well. If we talk about Turkey, for the last 2 years, we see a dramatic change. Every day, almost every day, a new coffee shop is opening, but not all of them are serving the best quality of coffee, but they are trying to bring the story of the coffee. So this is the best way that we can reach all the information. And in this world, I have a 10-year experience of coffee, and I started as a roast master, and I am also giving trainings in Turkey and also in some other neighborhood countries. And also I'm representing the specialty coffee. I'm one of the ambassadors of specialty coffee in the world, which means that you bring the artisan and the craft prepared, the beverages, and also the quality of the coffee, and you bring the story of that coffee to the consumers. So this is the most important part, and I think we will talk more about this today.
Definitely, we'll talk about it. You mentioned Turkish coffee, and that definitely brings a lot of rituals with it for making it and drinking it. That's passed on from generations. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yes, when I was a small kid, my family didn't let me to drink one sip of coffee because I was told that I can become black. Maybe you know about this as well. And this is another culture in Balkan countries as well. I heard about this from my friends from Balkan countries. But as I was grown up, I saw that the ritual is becoming very interesting for me because, you know, we have this marriage ritual. The girl needs to represent her beverage quality and skills by preparing something very special for the groom. So this is one thing. And the second one, actually, you can find Turkish coffee everywhere. It doesn't need to be a very luxury place, or it doesn't need to be something very ordinary place, but you can find it everywhere in all around the country. But the rituals are mostly prepared or done not in a correct way. This is what we have learned from the specialty coffee as well. The beans that we are using or we can find in the country is not the perfect beans. This is what we are trying to do, what we are trying to change in the culture of the coffee. And the next one, I can say that Turkish coffee has a very special way because it is very strong drink, but it has a very interesting preparation because you unfilter the coffee. So it is interesting than the others. You don't filter the coffee. You just use something which we call as cezve or pot. But the quality of the cezve is very important as well. And the quality of the water is very important as well. So you need to follow all the processes step by step. So I can tell these later.
Yes.
Yes.
Any Turkish person will tell you it takes some mastering. So what are the difference between traditional European coffee houses and Turkish ones, would you say?
I can say that from the history, everything started from the Arabian Peninsula, as you know, and then it came to the Ottoman Empire land. But then the European coffee houses brought the right information to the consumers. And if you go to Europe, you can see that you can reach all the information about that coffee, and you have the chance to talk a lot of about that coffee with the barista. Barista is the person who is preparing the coffee for you. When we come back to Turkey, actually it is a little bit different because our culture is mostly about the Turkish coffee, and we have, if we look at the market shares, the instant coffee has a big role as well. But nowadays, especially for the last 2 years, the coffee houses are changing. So you choose any of them and you go, and then you can get any information about that coffee, the story, the farm. Who is working in that farm? How many trees do they have? Which trees did they pick the cherries from? And how did they process that? And how long it took for you to receive the coffee and the other details. So this is changing, but at the moment we are very new. So this is what we can find mostly in the European coffee houses. And it is also becoming another good culture, new culture for us as well.
Well, so moving on to today, can you tell us about some of these new brewing techniques and the very fashionable cold brew? What is it?
Yes, we have the brewing techniques like cold brew. We can say we have mainly 2 types of it. First one is the Japanese style, which we brew the coffee on ice. And the next one is the Kyoto style, which is generally called, commonly called, is the cold brew. So you grind the coffee is all not coarser than French press grind level, and then you let the coffee to sit under the ice and water mix, and it takes around 12 to 18 hours for the coffee to be ready, because it is prepared by drip of the coffee, and it is very concentrated. So generally we serve this coffee together with the ice. We just put some small amount of it, and then we put ice, and then we serve it, and it's really nice drink for summer as well. But Japanese style is also something different. You change the recipe. For example, you put less ice and less water, and then you brew the coffee on the ice. So ice is under the coffee, and you again use hot water as well for the certain amount of temperature, and then it becomes more fresh and not that concentrated drink. And also we have the manual. We call them manual brewing, or we call them as the pour-overs, like Chemix, Aeropress, V60, and some others as well. And the best part of it is that you have all the control about every part of the brew. You have control on temperature, you have control on turbulence, you have control on time and other things as well. So you don't need something electrical, and it's different than a proper filter coffee machine, but it's another kind of filter coffee.
Electrics, but it takes a long time.
Yes,
Tastes good though.
Yes.
So tell us about this first, second, third wave of coffee. What are they?
Yes, actually first wave has started, we can say 1800s, and it was aiming just to give the coffee to the consumers. And it was mostly about the marketing of it. And then, as you know, we had the vacuum packaging, and also instant coffee, freeze-dried coffees, especially World War I brought the instant coffee choices. But in the second wave, when we come to the 1970s to 2000s, very well-known coffee chains brought this second wave, and this time consumer wanted to receive more information about the coffee. They didn't just to meet with the marketing side of it, but they wanted to receive more information. So it was a new wave of the first wave. But when we come after the 2000s, especially in 2002, a very well-known coffee company in America, Wrecking Ball Coffee Roasters, the owner of this company brought a new term. And she says that we need to bring all the story about this coffee to the consumers and also the baristas. So now we have everything about the coffee. It's not only marketing, or it's not only about just the story of it, but it's about every detail of the coffee. But it's going again another part.
It is.
Like fourth wave. They say fourth wave, which means that actually these wave things are something we can discuss more. But in fourth wave, they say that you can now produce your own coffee. If you are a barista, you can go to the farm, you can produce your coffee, and then you can prepare that coffee. Because the quality of coffee starts everything together with the green beans. Cultivation, green beans, roasting, and the beverage. So which is called the specialty coffee quality.
Well, all that information makes me want to have a cup of tea.
Yes.
Thank you very much for joining us on Showcase.
Thank you.